Well, hello, friends and neighbors. John, your whiskey neighbor here, and welcome to a Christmas-focused clip on, we're going to look at 5 whiskeys that I would recommend you thinking about bringing to a Christmas party or opening up with friends and families to help celebrate the holidays. This is part of a YouTube challenge, and I should thank Andrew from Prestige Liquids. I think he started the whole challenge. It didn't come to me from Andrew. It came to me from Chris, the last drop. Chris, thank you for challenging me. And at the end of the clip, I think I'll throw out a couple of names of YouTubers to take the mantle further and to hear maybe what they would recommend for Christmas. My take on this, what we're going to do here together, is to look at 5 whiskeys that I think are a little nicer than, kind of just the bottom kind of thing. These are nice, but they're available and affordable. And I think you'd be very happy to share them right to the bottom of the bottle if you went to a party or a celebration. Well, thanks for staying with me through the break. And as I said, 5 whiskeys for Christmas. I'm going to start with what I think is a broad appeal, often underrated Scotch. This is Glenfiddich 15-year-old. Oh, I should say, all of my whiskeys here in Canada are between $40 and $60. So I don't know if that's 30 and 50 in US, and I can't do pounds or connections to Europe. But this bottle here is the Solera Reserve 15-year-old, and I actually think it's a bit of an unsung hero. It has quite a bit of, good fruit that people can hold on to. Very pleasant nose. And if you take a sip, there's some depth in here that if at the party there are some people that have had some Scotch or whatnot, they're probably going to appreciate the oaking on here and some of the depth of flavor. So my first recommendation there is a Scotch, and that's the Glenfiddich 15. Then I'm going to stay a little bit light, so we're going to go to an Irish whiskey. So this is Tullamore Dew, but the Special Reserve 12-year-old edition. This one aged ex-bourbon and ex-Oloroso sherry casks, and it comes in a little bit light at 40%, but I also think it's a bit of an unsung whiskey. This is a very gentle nose. Even when I pass it to non-whiskey drinkers, I think it was my son the other day, and right away, this is a sweet and doesn't put you off whiskey. And I would suggest this would have a broad appeal, especially when you're pouring it for people that don't drink whiskey a lot. It's a delicate spirit. Definitely has quite a few fruit and berry notes. But like even in this one, there's enough oak that comes around in there that it still holds my interest. So it's not just, sometimes Irish whiskey can get a little too sweet for me, a little too just kind of honey sweetness, and this one has a little bit of depth. So that would be my Irish pick. Let's go over to bourbon. So this is Eagle Rare. Eagle Rare is a Buffalo Trace product, and I was on the fence actually of recommending Buffalo Trace. I think that punches far above its weight class, but for me, what I enjoy about moving up to Eagle Rare, now we've clearly changed from a certain style of malt to a much more significant corn whiskey. This bourbon is still, like right now I'm getting stronger cinnamons instead of the fruit notes that I was getting over here. Yeah, quite a different whiskey. But I like moving up to Eagle Rare if it's affordable in your area. From Buffalo Trace, to me it's oakier and a little spicier. Buffalo Trace to me has a broader appeal, I will say that. Just a regular, but I'm more interested in this bourbon because of a little more spice, cinnamon in this case, and a little more oak, which I definitely appreciate in my whiskey. So there we are, 1, 2, 3. Now we'll go to 4. Let's do a Canadian. I was on the fence about doing a Canadian and then a rye. In this case, I went with a rye that is Canadian. This is Lot 40, and I think you guys have heard me talk about Lot 40 before. Bottled at 43%. This is 100% rye that I know has gone through column and pot still, and spicier than the bourbon, but when we get the fruit notes in this one, I almost get like a floral type of fruit, like a very expressive, not quite perfumey. For me, when I get into perfume, I tend to think of that as a negative in whiskey, and it's not quite there, but it's on that edge. But the spicy, peppery nature can come out in the nose. See what it tastes like. And that is a flavorful dram that I have no problem recommending. It's actually the most affordable here on the table, but I would gladly recommend checking into it. Now, the last one I had was another Scotch. So I started with Scotch and went Irish, bourbon, Canadian rye, and thought I'd come back to Scotch. I'm really on the fence with this last one. So I'm going to sneak 2 in. I know, it's 5 whiskeys for Christmas. But this one here is Highland Park 12. Highland Park 12 should be no stranger to anyone who's been looking at reviews or been on their Scotch or whiskey journey. You know, this is up from the Orkney Isles. It's bottled in Canada. We got at 43, which is nice. And they're known for their use of ex-sherry casks. And what I appreciate with Highland Park is you've got a little bit of a fruity nose, a little bit of berry, but not much. And balanced very quickly on the nose for me is a light peatiness. So now you're getting, you know, you can get a little bit of smoke out of this, like a little bit if you're going for it. It's from the cask. This, we're getting some actual, you know, peat earthiness. Light though, light from the spirit. So this I would still be very happy to bring to a party. Some people will, and then that, you know, peaty and oakiness comes out in the palate quite a bit, actually, more than my memory would have served. So, but it's not a peat monster. So these would be my 5, I think, affordable, available, but fun and enjoyable whiskeys that I would recommend for a family or a work party that you could share and talk about, because I think all of them offer significant value. Actually, I think really everyone on here is either an unsung hero or just a very affordable, excellent whiskey. I said I was going to sneak another one, and it's true. It's because these will be your party pleasers, just about all of them. This last bottle, I just have to sneak it in. This, for me, this is Laphroaig Quarter Cask. Now, Laphroaig Quarter Cask, 48%, is not a crowd pleaser. In fact, I've brought this to a staff event once, and it became almost a dare of who would drink this with me. And the reason for that is this is maybe a peat monster isn't the right way to say it, but it is powerfully peated. And it is that Isla peat that is a little bit medicinal. You know, you're already chewing in the campfire. You've got some ash and almost some creosote. But the reason why I like this is I find this spirit, the essential spirit of this, to be really quite good. I actually find quite a bit of light honey sweetness, good maltiness. Oh, and if it's Christmas, and especially if it's a cold one, this is an awesome Scotch. Having said that, if I was going to a Christmas party, I would probably have this when I got back home and just enjoyed it by a fire and stick with these 5 that I put up front because they do have a little bit broader appeal. You know, thanks for watching me here. Thanks again to Chris from The Last Drop for challenging me. I've been trying to think, the challenge has been going around smaller channels, so I was trying to think of who I could challenge that would be interested in picking it up. I thought about Jeff, the Whiskey Explorer. He's a reasonably new channel out in, I think you're on Vancouver Island, so out in BC in Canada. And then I wanted to stay Canadian, but I couldn't think of another small channel that's still publishing. There's been quite a few that have come up and gone away. So I guess I'm going to go to a bigger channel, certainly bigger than me, and say, Mark, I don't know if you're too busy to talk about whiskeys you might recommend, but Mark at the Whiskey Whistle, I'd love to see your 5 picks for a Christmas party or a Christmas celebration. Great. Thanks again for tuning in, and I really hope all of you have a fantastic holidays and a Merry Christmas.